Hello and welcome to Kelly and Wrighty. The first international break is over, the Premier League is back and North London is...
Red Kel's like my socks, man.
Obviously. Coming up on the show today, we had our first big derby of the season in North London and Mikel Arteta definitely came out the happier boss after a 1-0 win at Spurs.
But there were two miserable managers on Merseyside after a shock defeat for Liverpool and another implosion from Everton.
No implosions from Pep or Erling Haaland, who was in the goals again, and his manager had some big praise for his opposite number, Thomas Frank, after Brentford's performance at the Etihad. If you missed any of the action this weekend, here's a little reminder of what went down. So the table's starting to take shape with 4 games played. Manchester City atop, Arsenal are second, Newcastle leapfrog Liverpool after their comeback win at Molineux. Forest are up to 7th after their famous win at Anfield. And then at the other end, both Southampton and Everton are pointless. The bottom 6 are all winless. Spurs are in 13th. They've only got 1 win from their opening 4 matches. And, Righty, don't start causing trouble now. We heard a little snigger over the table there. Maya Quadri's here, Karen Carney is here. We will get to the North London derby. But it was a good weekend for long-distance shots. I very much enjoyed them.
Yeah,
and there was nearly another one from Marcus Tavernier as well in the Bournemouth-Chelsea game.
Yeah, I really loved them this week. I thought Harvey Barnes as well was we saw that was one as well. It was brilliant. And then, obviously... Duran from Villa.
Yeah.
I get jealous, Kels, because Arsenal don't score that goal. We don't play through and end up getting that goal.
Life is so tough for Arsenal at the moment, isn't it? It's really, you just want
nice
more
to
and
see
more and more.
Yeah, you see this. You might see this goal. Cool, Saka can do this goal, which is something that we love him doing. And that was a fantastic goal, especially.
I love when goals
played.
just stop in the net. There's something very satisfying about the fact when they do that. And then obviously
you see this one, look, building up through the middle, and then you know what? I'm just going to hit it from 30 yards.
And
we don't do that.
And the consequence of it as well. You know, they'd been 2-0 down in this game. And John Duran, then,
That's just like, I'm coming on to show you something.
He got a sight on goal and he moved from a view to a kill.
Wow.
There's your Duran joke.
I like it.
We're going to run out of them before the end of the
Fabian
season.
Schär, Wolves, no better. You take a shot from...
Slightly.
Yeah, but this is what happens, Kels. If you take a shot from out there, that could happen, because you look at it, goalkeeper's probably going to save that. Look, the deflection, because you've had a shot, you bought a ticket, goal. This one's fantastic goal. You know what I mean? And again, a goal it shouldn't happen.
The thing is, it comes to the end of the month and everybody's doing goal of the month. They're all so similar, these goals as well.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that this means that Newcastle have had their best start to a season since the mid-90s, since the 1995-96 season. And that's
the kit.
From David Ginola round about the same sort of time.
Yeah. Wow.
See?
Yep.
Football gods are aligning.
Yes.
Did you score many long-range goals?
I scored a few, Kels.
Did you?
Yeah, I definitely did.
Did you ever score a long-range one against, for example, Swindon?
Well, you know what? I don't count this one. We was winning 3-0 at the time, and the goalkeeper was a little bit of a friend, and I thought...
you chipped him? Wow.
I didn't even shoot, Kaz, because
when you've scored that many goals, you don't need to count them all. Look, you're even shaking your head.
I just think, because I said, you know what? Why did I do that to him?
Because it was quality?
Yeah, but why did I do that to him?
Oh, OK.
But you helped Kevin Campbell out. So did Kevin Campbell get a hat-trick in that game?
Yeah.
And did you get all 3 assists? Did you create all 3 goals for him?
I think I might have,
Yeah, do you think that was true?
Well, I'm going to take it as true, I think, because people don't give me assists, they only see goals. But I remember the game, it was winding down, that game was. And, when you can see how easy it was to come off the defender. And I just turned around and just saw the goal.
You see him off the line?
Yeah, because when I turned around, you thought, why is he's in a... You know what? It's not even like, he's off... You just think, that looks strange, because that's what it looks like. He's not meant to be. He's meant to be further back. So I just thought... So when I come here, Kels, I learned and I went, look, see, I just looked, well, that's strange. I said, bam.
But that's so... yours is so delicate. So delicate.
Placed, isn't it?
Placed, like you've caressed it.
It's the worst for Goldie, though, that, and the chip one.
And it actually hit the stanchion. Everything that the goalkeeper doesn't want just happened to him there. So, again, it's business, never pleasure.
I tell you what, you've been watching too much Godfather.
Skills,
Arsenal, then.
Yeah.
with a win in the North London derby. Paul Merson described it in the UK coverage as very old school Arsenal, a typical kind of 1-0 to the Arsenal, quite controlled, just doing enough, just getting the 3 points.
Yeah, but it was what's happened now and what Mikel has created is as a side now that I was confident going there, obviously without Ødegaard, without Rice, you know, it's always going to be more difficult. But I was confident going there from our defensive point of view. So knowing that you're going to have Partey and Jorginho in front, and obviously we're expecting more from Tottenham, but going forward, I was always worried about how we're going to link and without Ødegaard to get the goal. But I was never worried about them scoring. That was the main thing, and that is the best thing about that result, because it's the kind of result you have to go away and get when you consider what Arsenal are trying to achieve this season. So it was brilliant. 1-0 to Arsenal in a game where you just had to be resilient. Yeah,
was it impressive from Arsenal, or do we have to kind of factor in the Spurs performance to that as well?
I think it was impressive, Ellie, because I messaged you, didn't I? I was like, I'm a bit worried about like the fluidity of that midfield, but you know, I hate to say, last season when City won it, they had big players out. So the question mark before the game for Arsenal was, OK, you've got big players out now, so can you do it? And against a rival with the magnitude of the game. So actually, for me, off the back of the international break, I think that's a massive, massive tick. And I'm like, fair play to them. Like, they've answered everything. And look, we know how good defensively they are, that clean sheets wins your titles, goals win your games. And if you stay in the game, there'll be a moment, and they took their moment. But I thought that was a really, really impressive performance. And it might not be impressive with the fluidity, but it was job done, mentality, move on.
Yeah, and particularly, as you say, after the international break, because we saw in a lot of other games that teams felt like they were really out of their rhythm. And with Arsenal even missing players, it didn't look like that had gone. There was a structure that they could go back to.
Wright said it best. You come up against this Arsenal team, they're so big, they're so strong, they compact well, they defend as a team well. You're looking at Timber, I think it's his 7th competitive fixture for Arsenal. It's like a new signing. He slotted in so well. I think Havertz's work was underrated in that game, dropping in to win the aerial duels. It's very hard to score goals against Arsenal, and they always say that defence wins championships, right? It's going the other way, where you thought, where's the goal going to come? And when you score set pieces whenever you want to, I mean, you've always got a trick up your sleeve, especially against a Spurs side who can't seem to deal with set pieces, or Vicario just can't seem to get high ball distribution. So executed really well. I think if you look at their game last season against Spurs, same thing. Didn't need a lot of possession, still won the game. And without your captain as well, it's often one of those games, it's about what team wants it more. I mean, Gabriel's got another man of the match performance against Spurs. Saliba, you could see the celebrations. They just wanted it more. It means more to them. I mean, you know.
It's still strange to look at that and see Arsenal in an away kit. My daughter was watching. She said they look like they've been sponsored by Nando's with the coloured stripes on their shoulders. But they weren't chicken.
You know what, Kels? It was from a Tottenham Arsenal point of view in the derby and what it means for us to not wear the red and white kit, for something to do with too much white in the kit. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just found that's just really being finicky.
I mean, the set piece record is better. It's better to concentrate on than the kit that I talked all over with while referring to the kit in that. But yeah, 24 goals from set pieces is so impressive.
And Gabriel as well, someone again Tottenham should have known. He's got, what is it, 15 goals? He's got something like 15 goals. He's the most goals scored by a defender in the 5 leagues. And, you know, with the delivery of Saka, I think Saka's been involved in all of Arsenal's goals that they've scored this season.
First player ever to get 4 assists in consecutive games in Premier League.
Honestly, it's just... He's so good, so good. And to know that you can depend on the set pieces like that in a game like that. I think I said when we done the show yesterday, match day, like I thought it was a must-game win. And I know it's very... I thought it was a must-game win at this stage.
No, go again.
What did I say?
Put it the other way around. Is that what you meant?
A must-game win.
A must-win game. A must-win game. A must-game win. Simply because of the drop point, because of City, knowing how this road is, chasing City, and it's a game that they had to win, even though it's an away game and you want to try and get something. So they had to win it, because then you got Man City coming. It's a great momentum game, I think.
Do you know what I liked in particular? I think when you think of the last game against Brighton, everyone can have their opinions on the Declan Rice situation. I thought it was a bit, finicky. But it was getting caught out by the dark arts. In this era of CCTV, there's not much you can get away with.
I love that description of VAR as CCTV.
CCTV.
Big Brother is watching.
Gabriel does so well. It's the slightest push, but it creates enough separation against a very good centre-half in Romero, who's very physically aggressive. Enough separation, bullet header. And the game's
People were saying that was a foul. What do you think?
I think he's got to be stronger. I think the set pieces of Arsenal, you could talk about the delivery, which is always spot on, but a lot of the time it's because Arsenal want it more. Like, he's going to power through, and if you're going to leave him 1v1 and not be strong about it, I just think the mentality of this is a set piece, we score, we just run over people in there and we don't care.
I mean, that's not new from Arsenal. This is quite a long-term thing where teams have come away slightly aggrieved at the physicality and the.
But if you leave him 1v1 though, Kel, and you are weak, and he's also the wrong side of him, you can't see him at any point. And listen to Martin Keown about it, and he's just like, well, if you can't see the play, you've got no chance. But if you leave him 1v1 and he's running onto it, like anyone in the zone standing will never have a chance. He's powerful, he's athletic, he's going onto it. Like, so it is about a delivery, but they want it more.
And
Vicario's got to come out for that, surely.
You know what? When you look at it's like 4 yards, he needs a bit more protection so as he can start coming out and maybe punching something like that or catching it. Or you know how easily a goalkeeper will get a foul. And I think that they just got deeper. The ball was great. So they've got to do more to protect him so he can at least come out and get a punch on that. It's 4 yards. It's 2 yards. It's 4 yards.
The other thing with Will is he's, as you say, he's a very physical player in terms of his approach to the opposition, but not necessarily robust when it comes back his way.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you see two centre-halves going up against each other. And it's very uncharacteristic for Romero not to win that sort of duel. And even the way he gets pushed, the separation, he moves
massive.
quite a bit. Yeah, he moves quite a way. It's like Gabriel's
like
really
he's not ready.
Exactly, and that's where it comes to, I think, mentality and really wanting it more. You said it perfectly. Anytime it's a set piece, Arsenal willing to fly through whoever they get.
It's very reminiscent of Tony Adams' attack. The ball in the opposing box. Very, very reminiscent. Wouldn't surprise me if he's seen videos.
You know, with that though, right? Obviously the delivery has to be spot on. Was just Tony just like, again, was it just the mentality, or is he naturally good at it, or is it just I'm going to win it? No,
he's naturally good at it. He's worked a lot at it because even in training, when we used to be training and we're doing the set pieces, he's still doing the moves what he would do on the Saturday to get the separation, to get the space, to really attack it. Same with Andy Linnigan. Andy Linnigan, the way George Graham especially wanted him to attack it was really coming in real with power. That last foot is real. You're right at the edge of your power to blast through everything. And that's what it looks like with him yesterday. And especially Romero, who is he's quite robust in the tackle and everything. It was so easy. He's not even looking. It was a really, really easy goal to score from Arsenal's point of view and a terrible one to give away from Tottenham's point of view.
Do you think there's a case for saying that Arsenal have marginally improved from last season in the sense that they can be missing players in the sense, you know, I mean, I know that they score from set pieces and that is a long-running thing, but in terms of I don't know, maybe the options that they have.
I think what he's probably looking at now, Kels, is that the defence is so solid and he could put a team in. And again, we do have to legislate for Tottenham and how poor they were, passing in positions where we didn't even need to go and close them. It was just very, it was, for want of a better word. You know, I think that what Arsenal have done, they've built so well on the defence, and he's so confident in what they can do offensively, even without the so-called striker, what we need. I think that now there's a confidence in the team that they can go somewhere and they're resolute enough to get the result, and then up to the forward players to get that important goal or that important assist. And then without two players of that magnitude, arguably our two best, apart from Saka and Saliba, you'd think that, yes, there might be something that they're worried about. It didn't look like it at all. It looked like a very, very efficient game for Arsenal yesterday.
There's a bit of a concern as we look ahead to Arsenal's next few fixtures, and obviously that game against Manchester City is going to be absolutely huge, and that's where maybe we'll see where the teams have progressed to from last season. But as far as Spurs are concerned, we've all sort of factored that into the equation when we're talking about Arsenal. But there's starting to be a real body of criticism behind Ange Postecoglou, or directed at Ange Postecoglou, having had, you know, good vibes all last season, even when things maybe didn't go their way. It feels like there's an expectation from Spurs fans. It should have settled by now that they shouldn't be making the mistakes that they are doing this time around.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the form from last season running into this season where the fans are kind of being critical of it. And then I guess what doesn't help is the narrative around the set pieces, maybe from Ange Postecoglou's comments last season. But we worked with him at the Euros, didn't we?
Yeah.
And look, he's an impressive guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's got a style and a belief, but it still is early days. If you look at Arteta, how long it's taken him and to change. The one thing is the hardest part is that mentality. Is like yesterday, did Spurs have the belief? Arsenal absolutely do. They are like now. Like me, I watch them like a bit like monster-like mentality. I don't see that from Spurs, and obviously Ange Postecoglou's got to get that in. And I don't buy that they don't practice their set pieces. I don't.
It doesn't
buy
make sense,
any
does
of that.
it?
They do. And again, it's just about maybe their style of football. They want more ball-playing players. That means they're weaker in aerial things because they're more technically gifted and maybe not as, I don't know, not like a Gabriel who's physically imposing as well. But, he's come out and said, I win trophies in my second season, and he said we're going to do that. I guess that's...
Which trophy?
Well, it's a massive statement.
It's a big statement.
It's a massive statement. And going off of yesterday, Kaz, and watching how they're playing, especially with this dangerous high line with not very much press in the midfield. It's not, Arsenal didn't take too much advantage of that, but there was opportunities. And, we know that we're trying to find a pattern to how he's going to play at the moment. And I'm not seeing it because at the moment I'm not seeing it in the way that they're passing. It's not with real purpose and creation, and it doesn't seem great in the final third as well. I think that they were a little bit unlucky because sometimes goals will change games, and I think that Dominic Solanke had that chance where he thought that he just didn't execute at all. He had 3 touches, he didn't even get a shot off with, I'd say, 5 yards of space by the time got to him. So his first touch he should have got a shot off, and I think if he does that, Kels, I think he's thinking about it too much. I think the pressure's on him. If he takes that and scores then, it is a different game. It will be a different game. Arsenal will still be resolute and try to break them down, but Tottenham will be a little bit more on the front foot. I think that because they didn't get no joy when they're trying to break down Arsenal, when they did get a little bit of joy, he missed. Then all of a sudden Arsenal start to get into their flow with the defensive, and then the fans started to get a little bit, how can I say, they're not desperate, but they would. You could feel anxious, the murmuring. Yeah, they were anxious. Yeah.
There's a few things sort of going on with Tottenham, and there is this set piece narrative that but they have come up against the side who are best at scoring them, so that you can sort of factor that one in. And then you look at Solanke and the opportunity that he didn't take, and then you maybe criticism of either Romero or Vicario or both at the goal for Arsenal. So there's a few things going on. Yeah. But wider than that, as you said, it feels as though it's not quite clicking for them, even in terms of their overall play, and that is probably what's more concerning.
I think the biggest issue they've got is last year what everyone was impressed with was the application, and they started the year off amazingly. And I think for Spurs fans, especially after the previous managers they've had, we have a style of football and an identity. After that, you then want results. Second half of the season wasn't great. They've not got results at the moment. Style of football is a bit harder to identify at the moment. So there's going to be pressure from fans because it's a complete contrast to what you saw at this point last year. I think the biggest issue they've got now, as you've mentioned, right, is Solanke needs to get his goal. Yeah. I think once he gets his goal, that puts confidence into the team. I think Ange probably has to look at his personnel as well. If you look at their backline, it's a strong backline. You then go into the midfield. Maddison is not where Maddison you would want him to be. He was playing really deep yesterday. Yeah. And if your magic man is coming that deep to play football, you're ineffective in the game. You then have their wide options, which is a bit of a concern as well. It's not Brennan Johnson's fault, but he's not a winger that's going to get past players. And I think that's where they seem to struggle. Son's a great goal scorer, but he's not the winger that we want to sort of be penetrating defences. And especially against Arsenal, if you can't penetrate or get in behind, you're not going to get any joy. So he probably needs to tweak a few things, and I think that's where the fans probably wanted another starter to come in guy that got from Burnley is great, but he's a talent to come in for the future. Same thing with Archie Gray and those guys. So it'll be really interesting to see how they develop, especially because they do want to win a trophy this year. There is that expectation. And this team has got plaudits of being one of the more exciting ones in the league. So I think they'll get together. The fixtures they've got coming up are probably a good opportunity to test themselves. But those goals...
There's some tricky ones in the league. So they've got Man United and Brighton. I think Brentford before that as well. So they're quite tricky for Spurs, those games. But the cup competitions, they've got Coventry and then Qarabag. And so you can see there that there's moments that could maybe lift them. Yeah.
You know what I just think with Dominic Solanke, I think if he'd go in there, like he's done the work. He's left Chelsea, scored lots of goals. You know what I mean? He went to Liverpool and went to Bournemouth. He's not scored copious amount of goals, but like we saw, he is capable. He's done that. He's had a good... He now should be in that phase in his mind where, right, I'm going to go there, because his hold-up play and link-up play, running channels, is very good, and he could give Spurs a different option. They can have so many different options. They can play up to him. They could go long. He can give them options. Then other people can come. And I can't understand why they're not making him focus on that. So when the chances come, he's more relaxed about it, rather than feeling at the moment he's in there predominantly to just score the goals. He can give Tottenham some more leverage to beat teams if they focus on the other stuff, what he does. Because we've seen him do that at Bournemouth so many games where his link-up play and his forward play helps other players. And I think that they've got to look at that as well, Tottenham.
So Tottenham looking like they're going to be focusing on the Cups, not necessarily on the League, which is no good for us because we'll be reflecting on their actions.
He's left you in no doubt there. I always win things in my second season, says Ange Postecoglou.
Well, he's put pressure on himself there a little bit, hasn't he? But listen, when you go out, the last thing you want to do, you've lost the North London derby, you've got to face he's grumbled, he's knocked, he wants to say more than that, and he can't. You're restraining yourself. But it was a good question at the very last minute there, and I think he was taken aback. Didn't quite know how to cope with that. Because, he wants that, but whether they're anywhere near that is a different story. It's a different question completely. Of course, everyone at Tottenham could say, well, we want to win trophies. There's a load of other clubs there that are looking to do the same. At the moment, I haven't seen a team that I think there's a winning sort of seal of approval here. You can see they're going to go and win something. I don't see that. We've got some very good players. We haven't got enough excellent players that are going to change games and going to make things happen. There was moments last season when Spurs looked good and strong at the beginning of the season when he first arrived, when Ange arrived. I like the way they play with the ball going forward. They've got a problem in breaking teams down, I think, as well. They've got to look at the way they move and the movement off the ball. But defensively, they're always looking a little bit vulnerable.
A lot of people said Arsenal have a great 1-11. As soon as they get a few injuries, they can't do it. Have they answered that question today without Ødegaard, Rice, Calafiori, Zinchenko?
Without a doubt, Steve. And it's like he mentioned, the manager mentioned it, resilience. I think there's years before where you can speak about an Arsenal side and feel like people saying, "Oh, there's no fight, there's no resilience." You know, he's built all that. He's built all that by building it all up through the fans, through the club, through the signings, through the players that he wants to bring into the team. And even when you looked at the game today, you looked at whether it was Kulusevski, whether it was Brennan, whether it was Son, the defending. I thought that Solanke would have caused more problems to the guys, but physically they dealt with that pretty well. And the more I look back at it, it was quite a comfortable win in the way that it went. Obviously, they won through a set piece, but I didn't fear them. I didn't feel like they were going to do enough to beat Arsenal in the way Arsenal are now, how resilient they are.
And Alan, even though it was game 4, psychologically, for Arsenal to do that today without those two players before going to the Champions a week today, how important was that?
Hugely. I said before the game, it was a really significant week for Arsenal because Arteta himself said it, that they've got to be almost near perfect to try and beat this Man City team to the title. So another poor result today would have left a huge uphill task. So it was a big win for them without playing particularly well. I thought they were comfortable. They've got the best back four in the league, and that's something you can rely on, and they hope that you get something from a set piece or someone produces a piece of magic, which they're likely to do. But it was a huge win at a really important stage already with Champions League coming up, and of course, as you said, going to Man City next week.
Gentlemen, thanks for your company. Glenn, well done. You didn't bite with Ian Wright all day. Commiserations. And congratulations to Newcastle and to Arsenal for your North London derby victory. We hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. From the four of us, we will see you very soon. Take care.
Well, Tim, there was always the spice we associate with it, without necessarily the goals and the drama, but Arsenal won't worry about that. How important was it for Mikel Arteta, given that he had to remodel his team, that they grounded out in that manner?
I think it was a massive result. We got to listen to the noise. Everyone was saying if they don't get maximum points at Tottenham, they go to Man City next week and the season's over. 8 points behind. They can't give Man City that sort of lead. They were absolutely right. I would look at it the way of, if they win both the games, you put them as a very good favourite to go on and win the Premier League. This is a different Arsenal we're talking about now. If you're going to lose two of your best players like Odegaard and Declan Rice, you have to find a solution and get maximum points. We see Man City do it time and time again. Last year, De Bruyne are out injured, Haaland out injured. They win games. If you're going to win the Premier League, you have to win games when you haven't got your best players, and they've ticked a massive box there today.
Particularly because last season the criticism was that Arteta didn't trust his squad. He didn't really rotate enough and it became a little bit too predictable. So that's why that's so key, isn't it? Because he can say, obviously, to everybody else, but more to his players, the squad players, Jorginho in particular, look at the massive role you have to play in this team.
Yeah, it is a fantastic squad he has built. I still think they're lacking mark on a striker, but that's another conversation for another day. But again, the players they brought in today, I mean, they've got such huge strength and depth. But again, we talk about the title decider. It always seems to happen at the Etihad. Next week, it's a bit early to say that, obviously. But again, in the last couple of seasons, they went there last year, got a draw, didn't they? We thought they could have been more on the front foot. They sort of went to Etihad last year, didn't they? And they sat on the defended deep. A bit like today, they sort of had the two main midfielders out and thought, we'll go there, be solid. And again, they've got a set play coach, and I know some people love them or hate them, but again, it's an important set play they've scored again today.
It's a little bit back to your day when you played against Arsenal, how good defensively they are now, so that when they do get their noses in front, they really do trust themselves to see the job done.
Absolutely. I thought Tottenham started really well in the game. 100 mile an hour, just never created enough chances, never had that little bit of guile in the final third. Kept inviting the ball wide, Arsenal, and letting them cross it. And Gabriel and Saliba were just clearing everything. It was almost like I just felt when I was watching Arsenal today, I was at the game, and it just felt like there was a calmness around them, and they were saying, you know what, we've got Ben White as well, Timber was excellent, and Raya, the goalkeeper, behind him, two colossus central defenders. We all defend our box today, and we enjoy doing it, and that, celebrating when they're blocking things, between them. They've got a real unity with the defensive partnership there. I think it was a different Arsenal. We haven't seen this Arsenal for a very long time. We saw it in glimmers last year. They need to dig in. If they're going to beat a Man City like next week, they're going to have to backs to the wall job. That's what they're going to need. They need everything to go their way. They're going to need a cutting edge. They wasn't fantastic in the final third today, but they found a way to win, and that's the most important thing. And I'll go back to it. If you want to win the Premier League and you want to get above that juggernaut, which is Man City, you're going to need to have a scruffy wins. And when you haven't got a centre forward and they're not firing all cylinders, you need goals from other areas. And Gabriel here, little push. There you go. Not enough for the goalkeeper to give anything, and he just attacks it for his life and gives them maximum points.
Do you think that's overall, a foul? Is that a foul on Romero?
Yeah, it's a foul. I mean, if you slow it down, it's a foul. But I think you allowed contact. I think he's clever enough with it. I think if Romero dives and makes more of it, I think it brings attention to the referee a little bit more. Perhaps VAR would look at it more closely. It's certainly a foul, but, it's one you're going to
work hard on it. That says it all.
You're looking for honesty, but off your players, we say, we try and help referees out, try and help officials. And Romero stays on his feet there, and he doesn't give a foul. If he goes down, I think it's a foul.
Yeah.
I think VAR get involved as well and possibly say this is a foul.
Obviously, clearly pushes him. But I think it sums up the fact that Romero just lost concentration, that A, he's lost Gabriel, and B, doesn't even think about, I think his head.
I think his head, you're right, Mark, his head is scrambled a bit.
It's
and
gone,
the other question, obviously, has been an
ex-goalkeeper. Because there's a big question mark now about
because teams are looking at it now that there's a real weakness with Vicario when it comes to balls into the box, high balls into the box. I think he's proven with his shot stopping and the ball at his feet, he's very, very good. But there's a weakness there. He wants to get involved, as Tim off air, he wants to get involved in sort of scraps and fights before the ball's even been struck from the corner taker. He has to sort of distance himself from that. And then when the ball's on his way in, he's got to like free up a yard or two to come, and he should be, in my opinion, should be sort of arriving at the same time.
He's about 4 yards out, Gabriel, when he hits it. Surely you would be, even if you don't make contact with the ball, you'd be A, shouting, and B, doing enough to put somebody off. Would you not?
Well, I think, again, he's got his own players now. They've seen that as a weakness. So what he's done, and I think it's Madison, I can't remember what other Tottenham player, but he's brought them inside. So he's actually fighting his own players and the opposition players.
To get a run at the ball.
And he's worried about the fight, and he's forgetting about the ball. So he needs to free himself up from all that nonsense and actually focus on the ball.
So what's the answer, Shay? Can you fix that in a goalkeeper on the job? With the games coming thick and fast? They've got European football now, they've got Carabao Cup in a week and Premier League games coming.
It looks like they haven't fixed it because it was the same problem last year. Teams looked at it as a weakness. But again, you can coach it in the training ground. You can sort of talk what I just said before. But again, he's the one in the position. He's in the high-pressure position and people know that. So he has to sort of... You see him getting booked today when they had him and Timber come together. He's a bit of hot-head character as well. You need to be calm, Mark, in them situations, relax and just stay away from all the sort of the traffic in front of you.
What about where all this leaves Ange Postecoglou? Because since the very positive start, in fact, since the 4-1 defeat at Chelsea, which is going back to November of last year, it's not been good.
No, it's been a real
and there was a real sense of frustration there today, wasn't there?
Absolutely, well, it's an emotional game. You know what it's like. I mean, these North London derbies, for me, from North London, it's the biggest game. For all them fans who are turning up there, it's the biggest game. And he doesn't do well in the derbies. You know, and if you don't do well in the derbies, you put yourself under immense pressure.
And these are sort of half, three-quarter chances, aren't they? None of these are...
Raya thinks that's in.
Yes.
I mean, when that's looping over him, they're just not enough. They're not enough. They're not clinical enough. And we've seen that not only in this game today, but the last 3 games they've had. They've had enough chances to win all of them. They haven't taken enough points at the moment, unfortunately. And just looks like it was half chances. You know, shots like this, they're not chances. And I think he has to continue working the same way. He believes in the methods of what he's doing in the training pitch. I've got faith in him. I really think, given him the time, hopefully he can start scoring the goals and then picking up the points.
I mean, it's lots of shots. Oh, sorry, apart from the Everton game where they absolutely thumped Everton, the other 3 games, they haven't won any of them. Lots of shots, but you can see the XG tells you that the quality of the chances isn't that high. So we've just seen it there. Our eyes have shown us that, haven't they? They're sort of shooting...
Yeah, I mean
they're half chances.
The Newcastle game a couple of weeks ago, they had some really good chances as well, but didn't take them and didn't capitalise. I mean, Solanke's obviously, they spent big money on him, and the manager comes under pressure. I'm just going to say to Tim there, do you think he's under pressure with the fans, with the money he spent, with the great start he's sort of put himself? I remember this time last year, they were top of the league, weren't we? We were all going, what a great job.
Amazingly, I would have to say, I wouldn't put him under pressure. I love him. I think they should persevere with him, but he needs the fans behind him. They when he first came in, they loved what they were seeing. It was such a contrast from previous managers. They were very boring to watch. Now they're not. You don't see a boring game involving Tottenham anymore, but they need to start winning games. In the end of it, you need to start winning. It's all right playing on the front foot and attacking flair and opening up the game and your fullbacks bombing forward. We love all that, but you need a clinical edge. You need to start putting the goals in.
They need a bit more cuteness in midfield today. Do they need more from James Maddison?
Yeah, I like James Maddison, but I think he needs some help in there. I think he looks like he's the only one with a little bit of guile. I'd like to see him picking the ball up behind Arsenal's midfield or whoever they're playing against, in them tight areas, on the back foot, in tighter areas. He gets a lot of the ball, but he goes and takes it safe. He goes in front of people and tries to find the pass. Someone like Eze would have been a perfect signing for me if they were to buy him. He would have been out there, he would have assisted Maddison. They need more guile in there. I don't think Kulusevski's doing enough. And Son today, it was one of his poorest games. He's a prolific goal scorer in the North London derby, and today it just wasn't his day.
As you said earlier, Arsenal at the Etihad this weekend. Now, I think we have to assume that Odegaard will not be available. I mean, he might be, but I think it's very unlikely. But obviously Rice will be available. But I think they'll play the same way again. And you were saying earlier that maybe you think that's a bit of a mistake. Well, I think at this stage, being September, they'll happily play the same way again and get a similar sort of result to last season if they can.
Well, maybe it's early enough in the season now to go to it next week and get a draw, because there's so much football still to be played. But I just felt at the end of last season, it was a perfect opportunity to go. If you want to win the league, if you want to be this team, and Arteta obviously just signed a new contract, he wants to go next week and show why they want to be champions. And you have to beat the best team, which are Man City.
They'll play the same way again?
I think they will, but that gives them massive confidence. You know, to listening to the noise. He can't do it without Odegaard. He's your captain, and Declan Rice is so important. They did it. They did the job with players who have had very little football. Jorginho was out on his feet today, but he gives everything. He's wearing the armband there today. He's playing for that shirt. It's like he's been there 10 years.
The winning goal came from a set piece again. Last season, Arsenal scored 22 goals from set pieces, corners. How much work in the training goes into to get it meticulously well and score in a game?
A lot. But it's not only set pieces, to be honest. That's every detail we train on the training ground. So, yeah, it just pays off. So, as you can see, what you said, 22? 22 last season. Yeah, that's a lot. That says a lot about how we train, so that's really good.
And was the game next week against Manchester City in the back of your minds that you have to come here, maybe get the 3 points, not to have a big gap with Manchester City, who started brilliantly for 12 points from 4 games?
I think the focus is on ourselves. If Man City doesn't lose a lot of points, so we have to focus on ourselves. It's game by game, and first we got a Champions League this midweek, and then after we got the big game against City. But no, really nice that we got the 3 points today to stay there, and that's what we want. We want to compete with City, so we have to stay there with them. And but first, game by game, Atalanta on Thursday.
Last time Arsenal won 3 away games at Arsenal won at Tottenham was 87-88 season, before the invention of the Premier League. What does it mean to be part?
True honour. This group is amazing. The way we fight for each other, just the quality of the players, how happy we are after a win. It's just so fun to be a part of, and yeah, I can't wait for what's ahead of this season.
And last season, when you went to the Etihad, you went for a draw, and people said maybe Arsenal should have went for a win. Is that different this season? Will you go to the Etihad next week in the Premier League with the intention of get the 3 points and close the gap with Manchester City?
We always go everywhere with the intention for 3 points. It wasn't our intention to go for a draw there. I wasn't there, obviously, but I know how this team thinks. And we go everywhere for a win. Obviously, during a game like 2 weeks ago against Brighton, when you receive a red card, sometimes you cannot win. But everywhere we go to win.
And you said if you didn't get the result, if the performance was good enough, you could build from that. Tim Cahill in the studio, your former Socceroos captain, he said that going in at half-time, he thought you'd be the happier coach. How are you at full-time?
No, it's disappointing. It's you want to obviously win these games for a number of reasons, but it's been a tale of our season so far. We've been pretty good in all games in terms of dominating possession and creating chances. But if you don't take them, especially against good teams, then you're always going to get punished. And we switched off for a moment and got punished.
Let's look at that moment. The defence switched off. You defended quite a number of set pieces well, but that moment, the kind of leaping header that Tim Cahill...
Well, for the most part, we just, as I said, we switched off for one, and good teams punish you, and that's what happened to us.
You said in the past you really don't focus on set pieces, but you definitely train for them, don't you? There'll be that discussion, that debate now.
I've never said I don't focus on set pieces. I said they're not the most important thing, but people want to run a different narrative, that's fine. I'm prepared to take that. We'll keep doing what we're doing, and like I said, we just need to improve certain areas of our game, and we'll get there.
You said about the manner of the performance, at the final whistle, there wasn't immediate celebrations from the Arsenal players because they were dead to the ground before they had to recover. That says of how you've pushed this team, but I saw you pushing your forward players on, telling them to get forward more. Some of the decision-making in front of goal, Solanke just right back, first match back into this game, so he's got to be given time, but some of the decision-making in front of goal, the side passes, that's got to get out of them, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just having a bit more belief in that front third area. Like I said, we had some really good moments that nothing came out of, and as I said, it's been the tale of our season so far, but yeah, it's up to me to fix, and we'll fix it.
Regarding Arteta, which was that if he doesn't win it this year, the league, it's all been for nothing. Do we agree?
No.
Definitely not.
No. No.
Okay.
How can it be for nothing? How do you work?
Well, it's no good keep coming second, is it?
Well, hold on. If you're playing in the
I didn't write the piece.
If you're playing in a league that has an exceptional side,
I'm reporting that I read this.
But
piece.
if you're playing against,
you can't keep coming second.
Well, it's like saying then, is Klopp a failure? He won one league.
Well, no, he was in 2 European Cup finals.
Yeah, no, but he won one
European
league.
Cup. He won an FA Cup.
No,
he won
I know.
a League Cup.
Well, Arteta's already won an FA Cup.
How about we change the question? Like, where's the club at? Where was it 5 years ago? You know, how do the fans feel? Is there improvement? Is there progression? Okay, he doesn't win the league, you get rid of him. Who are you going to bring in? So let's flip it.
I'm not advocating that should be the case. I am reporting what I read this morning.
I would go to the bank and give Mikel money to get an out-and-out striker. You know, because I suppose you put Haaland in Arsenal's team, they win the league.
Tim, there's who is there? The thing everyone always says that you go and get an out-and-out striker, and I've talked about that. I've sat here and talked about it with loads of people. Everybody wants a top striker.
But you need to pay. So you want Haaland, you need to pay. You want him back.
There's only one Haaland.
Yeah, but this is the thing in football. Haaland makes a difference.
You're advocating going and buying an out-and-out forward. My memory serves me correct. You were a false nine for a while, weren't you?
Yeah, because we couldn't afford to buy another striker.
Sorry.
We couldn't afford to buy a striker. So.
The thing is with Arteta, though, how long do you give him to win the Premier League? That's the thing. Yes, he's made huge progress, and of course, the team, the club is in a better space. In terms of the attraction, in terms of the progress, in terms of the style of play. They have some type of identity back again. The Arsenal way of playing is really exciting to watch. They spent 100 million quid on Declan Wright, so they're buying these huge names. But there must be a cut-off point where you, as you alluded to, you can't keep coming second. Right, so they give him a new contract.
They can actually keep coming second if Manchester City keep producing.
For
5 years.
You got.
This is what I'm saying. It's not just as easy to say. Well, you can't keep coming second. I think he's already amassed last season the best points ever had in a Premier League season.
But it counts for nothing.
But it counts for something.
It depends on leadership as well. It really depends on leadership, because what are the metrics for success? If metrics for success is win the Premier League on this budget and he doesn't do it, then okay, go find another manager. It's simple as that.
Do you think that he is occasionally guilty of over-exuberance and perhaps celebrating too quickly? Don't look away, Tim. I'm looking at
Look, very, very, very young manager and learning week in, week out and evolving, but also learning in the factor that throughout the years, you know, you want to celebrate every moment, and finishing second is a big feat, but
yeah, but not beating Fulham 2-1 in October. That's maybe.
Look, for me,
you're a bad man.
You know,
he's like an elephant, isn't he?
He's a bad man.
I just think I've seen successful people down there. I was brought up in my youth watching Liverpool, that wonderful team. They didn't celebrate on any given day, at any given time, until they'd got their hands on the trophy they were chasing for the end of the year. Exactly the same at Manchester United. Enjoy it, but save the special moments until you can justify them. And I just think sometimes Arsenal have got a bit carried away, and it actually it's been to their detriment that that's the case. Do I have a point?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I mean, listen, people see success in different ways, right? And what's the value of success? Some people see finishing second is a huge success in Arsenal in terms of where the club, as Tim had mentioned.
Get it,
but ultimately, I agree. I agree with you. It's still second, right? So I'm not used to coming second. I like to come first, and I'm in agreement with you.
I also like this week the comment when he said, "Don't talk to me about big games. They're all big games."
That's what Tim was saying.
No, but the thing is you can't take things out of context to a certain degree, because also you talk about Ange. He took over at a time when it was difficult. But you think about the managers that were there: Conte, Pochettino, Nuno, Mourinho. Now, my discussions with the leaderships were simple. This guy will give you an identity. He'll make you believe in the badge, and he'll make you belong to something. What's more important in football these days? I think from my perspective, when you look at Tottenham as a business and as an infrastructure, the way they run it is incredible. But they pretty much lost their way.
Why
and
did
now
it
they
take
brought someone in that has clear identity.
Well, why did it take them that long to identify Postecoglou? Why did it take him that long to find his way into English football?
I don't think they had any choice. I think when you've been through 4 or 5 managers of that calibre, you basically have to go back to the drawing board and be honest and say, you know what? This guy, he's won the Japanese league, he's done well international, he's done well at Celtic, but they're still taking a risk. But in my opinion, it was a calculated risk. And the key is, he took over at a really bad time. And it's similar to Mikel. It wasn't a bad time, but I suppose these managers need time. So what is good at the moment with football clubs? If something goes wrong, you lose 3 games, you change the manager. So leadership's really important, and you sort of like have to live and die by the sword. And I suppose Ange has give the fans something new and fresh to feel. And for me, that's more important.
Was he never close to finding his way into the league with another club?
Potentially,
he not discussed.
Potentially, it was close, but it's one of those scenarios. And you know, as a manager, to get your first real gig, someone has to take a chance on you. And I suppose Tottenham were in a situation there, and why Ange is grateful. But this is he looks at every game like it's his next biggest game. Like this is the biggest moment of his life. And unless you know someone like that, and the way that I know him, he's grateful to be there. And now in football. You have, passing ships. Yeah. It's because that's what he's going to fight for. And this is the thing with managers. We can talk all we want about managers and say he's lost against Arsenal, a top Arsenal team. He's been there 1 season, and then he loses a game, and then it's the end of the world. No, he has to believe. And I suppose with managers now, you always miss most of them when they're gone. And then you realise the work that they've done and what they've put into the club. Now today he's not happy, it's not the best result, but I know for his passion, he's saying, I want to win something. I want to win something for the fans. So that's how I take it from knowing and understanding it.
But Tim, is he not saying that with the fact that he's been at the top of the other teams, or the teams that he's managed in previous years are the best team in those leagues, so then hence that's why he's given a better opportunity to win something in his second year? The fact that he's at Tottenham, who hasn't won anything in a number of years, he's still stating that he probably wants to win something.
And what I like is he's not shying away from the pressure. He's embracing it, he's owning it. Yes, you've got to try and back it up. And at the same time, the season will tell, but he wants his fans to believe in something. And that's the main factor, is the style of football. Yeah. They didn't have the end product today. And again, with Arsenal, there's going to be games that this isn't going to be enough for Arsenal. No. Winning 1-0 just from one set play. So there's going to be many elements with inside structures of football clubs that I feel a lot will pick on this point and then drive that point. But at the same time, only time can tell.
In fairness, I was just going to say, being Tottenham manager can seriously damage your health, can't it? It's seen off a few.
It has seen off, but the thing is, with Ange Postecoglou, when he's saying, I often win things in the second year I'm at a club, there's no reason why they can't think that. There's no reason why they shouldn't believe they can't win the League Cup, or whatever it's called now, the FA Cup.
Carabao Cup.
Is that what it's called? The Carabao Cup, or the FA Cup. Yeah. Right? There's no reason why they can't win one of those while still progressing as a club and as a group. And I think that's what if you're Tottenham manager, if you could just break that glass ceiling that seems to be around that club now, that they can't win something. If he was to win the FA Cup, if he was to win the League Cup or the Carabao Cup, that would give him great kudos.
I think we can write off a Carabao Cup win.
Oh yeah, he threw it away last year, didn't he?
Last year he didn't play a serious side and could have. This year, of course, they're at Coventry, so.
Oh, but they're out there, aren't they?
It's not going to be an easy night this week, is it?
Yeah. Well, why not? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you when you've got?
I think certain clubs.
I don't get it with. I don't. Tim said that team hasn't won in what for 20 years or longer. 20 years.
Yeah.
Since they won a major trophy.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic. Also with the managers, like when Pochettino got to the final, right? So close yet so far away, and then you decide to change him. Then you have Mourinho, so close yet so far away.
That was a ridiculous
decision.
No,
but then you decide to change him. So you've got to be careful what you wish for.